Now you can sit down and join the great streaming debate. I'm kind of rent a panel, aren't I, today? So I think any panel about streaming is going to divide opinion, and I guess depending on where your role is in the music industry, you'll have a very firm view. I'm sure. Let's do a quick show of hands. Actually, how many artists are there in the room? Okay, DJs, labels, publishers, performing rights organisations. Oh, look. Hello, Ash. Whee. So I think everyone probably agrees now that streaming services have become the default consumption route for consumers. Very few people download, very few physical products purchased. But we're here in an electronic music conference, and electronic music is perhaps slightly different, and maybe people will disagree. But right now, the default way for a DJ to play is from a download. And I think that's often overlooked in the music industry, that reports of the death of the download are probably grossly over-exaggerated until such time as DJs, if they so chose to, streamed and played live. So what I really want to explore is how given that DJs are getting global exposure for their music to consumers, how is that impacting on electronic music? A lot of music now is being given away. That might not be the right thing to do, but let's kick that around as well. And obviously, it's incredible now to see both MetaPop and Dubset in an environment where 2 years ago, we as AFEM were stood up on stage here saying that online is the Wild West, no royalties for mixes, no royalties for DJ mixes, very poor return rates from performing rights organisations. So all of a sudden now we kind of have an arms race for accuracy and an arms race for payments. So maybe the tide is turning in streaming's favour. So I think the first thing I'd like to do is to get you to introduce yourselves. If I can just start, my learned colleague on my right.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Andy Dean. I'm here representing Crowdmix, which is a new platform for artists and communities to build digitally. And we are just at the very, very earliest stages of launch right now. Private invitation beta in the UK only, and it's going very well. And we're just sort of growing numbers on target and building communities as we speak.
Thank you. Brian?
Hi, my name is Brian Tappert. I'm co-founder of Traxsource. It's a digital download site for house music and techno.
My name is Matthew Adell. I'm the former CEO of Beatport and the founder and CEO of MetaPop.
Hi, I'm Carolina Corsello, Head of Corporate Communication for Deezer. I am Swedish. I could be representing one of the biggest babies coming from Sweden, but no. Deezer, as you all know, is a worldwide music streaming music service. We are in 180 countries. We have the biggest music catalog with over 40 million tracks, licensed tracks. And we are focusing on personalization, which is called Flow. So if you download your app now, or as you have it, you will see it. And if you have any questions about streaming, I'm here until Friday.
Hi, I'm Stephen White from Dubset. You just heard from me, so I'm still Stephen White from Dubset.
Hello, I'm Jamie Chalmers from Anglo Digital Management. We're a digital marketing strategy company. Our clients include Fatboy Slim, Hot Since 82, Madness, Idris Elba, and also some bloke called Pete Tong, who we think you should look out for. He's definitely going to be a big name one of these days.
Well, the next big thing.
Hey.
Brilliant. Well, let's get into some questions, because what I'd really appreciate from everybody is a good, honest sharing of opinion. I think if it's the great streaming debate, then that's exactly what it should be. So, Brian, Traxsource has got a very loyal fan base, and you yourself have a very single-minded approach to A&R. Traxsource is proudly EDM free and not at all focused on only the big labels. What do you think the impact of streaming has been, and is it a good thing?
Yeah, I think it is. I think there's many great things about it. It's obviously the way consumers would like to download, to consume. So there's many good things about it. I think the bad part is there's not really a business model that's actually succeeded yet, which is challenging, but...
Can you just expand on that bit when you say there's a business model that's not succeeding?
I'm not aware of any of them that actually have made any money.
Okay, that sums it up nicely. So, who wins and who loses from the streaming model then, do you think, given that it's a model that isn't financially working?
I think first and foremost, the fans win, you know? And they have great contact with the music and often free or for very low cost. So for the fan, it's great. Who wouldn't want it?
If I can move to Caroline's now. So, as the industry has evolved from sales to streams, do you think the music industry at large is a better place because of streaming?
I think it is. And I think that as I said, we have over 40 million tracks on our platform. So obviously we represent a lot of smaller artists too. So yeah.
Now, just taking Brian's point,
Yes.
No one's making any money yet, and streaming's 10, 15 years old. When do you think it's going to make money?
Actually, hello? Oh, from now on. Well, we've seen a lot of reports actually saying that we are starting a very nice curve and that we will see a lot of benefits from this platform. So,
And given where you come from and work for,
yes.
do you think the download is dead, or do you think there's still a role for downloads in the music industry?
I wouldn't say that it's dead, but it's dying. And therefore we need to find other ways of keeping it alive.
So Andy, if I can turn to you, could you give a real simple explanation of where Crowdmix fits into the ecosystem of different streaming services and consumption routes for music? What's different about it?
Well, the key differential, I suppose, is that we're basically able to have a universal music player that sits across multi-service providers. So if you're a premium subscriber to one service and another panel member would be a digital subscriber to a different service, currently on most sort of social networks, when you share a track, you'll be asked to download either the Spotify app or the Apple Music app and go and find that track from that provider. What we do is within the Crowdmix app itself, we match to your designated service the same track without you having to go outside the app and listen to the song, which provides a much more easy flow service and allows you to build an audience for your particular type of taste that fits with other like-minded people that join your crowd and share similar tastes to you. So we're helping find people through music and helping people have a shared experience through music, which can include all types of aspects to the ecosystem, including, are you going to go to the gig? Are you going to buy the T-shirt? Et cetera, et cetera. So by building those communities as an artist, there's a huge benefit. And also down the line, the conversations that are created around your art, around the creators themselves, actually will generate revenue through the brands and sponsors and advertising that we bring on the platform.
So one of the criticisms often leveled at today's music industry is that creators of music, producers of music, and record labels have given the keys to the castle to the tech companies, and the distance and the relationship between the creator of music and the consumer of music is ever greater. How are you going to buck that trend?
Well, by bringing the fan closer to the artist and the fans closer to each other. So they can open up conversations to a very tight, specific niche, which allows people to share common experiences and therefore benefit, the artists themselves through having a very easy access to those fans and opening up that channel, that direct channel. So taking the gloop out of the system and making the artist closer to the fan and the fan community.
So, do you think you'll be the first company to make money out of streaming?
Well, I think what we're trying to do is not simply make money for the artist out of streaming, but to create a community that helps the artist to make money ultimately in the long distance.
Okay. So, Stephen, coming to you, Dubset
I dodged the question there, didn't I? Really?
Yeah, nice one. It's all right. I saw what you did there. Dubset have been driving solutions to the big data problems in streaming now for a good 2-3 years, definitely highly active for the last 2. I'm sure as many people know, often in the streaming environment, particularly SoundCloud, there's a massive absence of data. Lots of organizations can't match the recording to the work and all those lovely, I hate to say the word metadata at an electronic music conference, but the metadata problems. How are you making a difference, and what difference is it going to make to electronic music? Can you finally help producers start to have a career again from their craft?
I mean, we hope so. We hope that we've allowed the content creators, in this case the DJs, to focus on making music and to abstract and take away all the complexities of having to worry about, is it legal for them to post their mix on a given site or to distribute it to their fans. And that's taken a lot of work on the technology side, but also I think a big part of the effort over the last couple of years has been education. I think it's striking to me how much of a gap there is between the content creators and the content owners in terms of understanding the issues that both have and understanding the rights that are required to legally distribute this kind of content. And so we've done a lot of work to educate both sides on the needs of both parties and to really help bring them closer together. And we think we're at a point now, given the real focus on the distribution platforms on mixed content and the real desire to bring this fabulous content kind of into the light of these legal subscription services. We think we're at the point now where we've crossed that chasm and we've brought the two together in a meaningful way. So yes, we hope so. We hope that the content creators don't have to think about this anymore, don't have to worry that their mixes are going to be taken down from their accounts and that they're going to not be able to deliver what they've created to their fans.
And Matt, if I can move to you, basically the same set of questions. I mean, MetaPop is tackling very similar issues about monetizing mixes in electronic music. What are the opportunities that you're going to create for producers, and actually what are the challenges that you're facing with the way the current industry is set up to make that happen?
Well, we clear everything at the back end at MetaPop. So by the time we're ready to deliver something to a DSP or a UGC platform, that content is as legal. I'm sorry, I hate saying content. It sounds like a pile of manure you're going to move with a shovel. The music is as legal as any other piece of music that's moving to the DSP. Stephen is quite right. It's the education is what's really important, getting both parties together. I actually don't believe there is a real problem around the data in streaming in our business. There's a problem around people not wanting to do the work necessary to make the data effective. The data is all available. It is all there. Companies that claim they can't match the data simply are unwilling to invest in doing the work necessary.
Who would those companies be?
Excuse me?
Who would the companies be that aren't prepared to match the data?
No comment.
So, Jamie, if I can move to you. First, I think it'd be really handy for us kind of on the panel to understand what the role of Head of Digital encompasses at Anglo. And kind of what, therefore, given that role, advice do you give and work to give to your artists?
Well, we're coming from the artist side, so we're looking to join the dots between the artists and the fans. And obviously, the music is and always will be central to that. And of course, streaming is now where the music, that's where the fans engage with the music. So the streaming debate will happen on a daily basis. You know, when I was told I was going to be in this panel, people were saying, well, what is the streaming debate? And then about 3 hours later, we realized in our office we'd had about 4 debates about streaming. So obviously, it's a big debate. And I think the thing for us that we've realized is that for dance music, there's an opportunity. iTunes and Spotify are great, but they don't really understand dance music. And historically, going back to vinyl, we had our own record shops who understood the white label culture. They understood how that happened. Then we had downloads, and we had Beatport, who understood you wanted to search for a label, not just for an artist. They understood the genres. I think now in streaming, what we're missing is that understanding. And it's a shame that Beatport streaming didn't work, because that was the obvious candidate. But that's what we're saying to all you guys here is that, and obviously Dubset, we've talked, in the past for fixing the mix issue. That's what we want to see. That's what the artists want to see. They want to see a good user experience for the fans, so they can consume dance music in the way that they like to.
So do you think dance music isn't paid enough attention to from the streaming sites? It just kind of gets lost in a wash of major pop music hits. And I heard now that in Sweden the approach is very hit-led. It's almost like an algorithm. That track's going to work, so that's the one we're going to focus on. It's like the kind of the accidental discovery of an amazing track is disappearing in front of our eyes.
I think it's they can see the figures. They know it's important. They know the size of the industry, but I don't think they're able to give it that real expertise and understanding of the culture and everything that all of us do and understand like it's second nature. And even getting mixes up on streams in a way that works for everybody, it's taken a long time, and I think they want to do it, but I don't think it can be top of their priorities because they're too busy looking over their shoulders at him next door, seeing what they're doing, and trying to build their platforms and all of that stuff.
If I could jump in there, we are seeing, I think, evolution at these streaming providers, which is nice, and I think Deezer can speak to this, I think. But dance music has clearly become a very important area of focus for all of them in ways that maybe historically it hasn't been. And so while there's still not maybe the amount of focus, I think the teams that they've been developing that are solely focused on this come from the dance music industry and get this genre. And so I think it's evolving towards what we'd all like to see is a better understanding of the genre and a better approach.
It is, but it's an opportunity. There's a gap there, and in the past that gap has always been filled, and at the moment, no one has come forward and nailed it. So get to work, guys.
So is Deezer, a better question, what's Deezer's proposition to dance music? How can everyone in this room benefit from your service so that their tracks get consumed?
Well, we actually need to work with people like my 2 neighbors here to be able to offer it, obviously, because of the rights issue. And as Stephen said, we have bigger groups actually focusing on this, that I know that at least Dubset know of. But it's not only, we have a huge customer base that are looking for it. And also the people working at Deezer, myself, are hoping for it to happen soon. But yes, we are focusing on it.
This is possibly a slightly detailed and dumb question, but when you go onto Deezer, can you search by label?
If I did.
No, anyone. Can you search by record label on Deezer? Because one of the for me anyway, being blunt,
Yeah.
one of the failings of streaming services at large is, and the immediate discrimination against dance music, therefore, is you can't search for label, and yet most DJs out there and passionate fans of dance music follow labels. You buy Defected, you buy Strictly Rhythm, you buy Southern Fried because you trust the imprint. It's not the store that you trust, it's the label, and it's the last thing you can search for.
I think it comes down to editing, taste, and curation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And therefore you trust that, ability for the A&R, to lead you to the right songs, and so yeah, it's a big factor. I mean, one of the things that, in terms of search algorithms, that we always try to build into the technology that I've been involved in the past is not just the label, also the artist, but also the remixer as well, because it's which version of that track. So there are sort of extra, criteria that need to be looked at in order to help people find what they're looking for.
I mean, if you did that, you'd kind of take a big step forward in terms of everyone in this room loving Deezer from now on. Just go, good news, on Monday, there's a search function for record label and a search function for remixer, and big round of applause to you. So that would work, just right there.
I will make sure to have that round of applause very soon.
So I'll come back to you, Matt. So you talked earlier on about one of the big challenges being the data challenge and how few people really focus in the creative sector on data. And that's kind of understandable because data's dull and dance music's sexy. So how do we need to overcome that through education? Is there a system approach to it? How do we get back to the beginning, at that final point of a track being mastered, and get everybody in this room and in the wider community to go, right, now I need to do an ISRC code, now I need to do this, now I need to put publisher in, how do we make that happen as the standard?
What? Me, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
It happens at the distribution level. And I'm sure at Brian's business, there are distributors that are great about supplying that information. I know at Beatport there were, many companies that were great at making sure that the independent label supplied that information, and then it was passed on in a format that could be digested properly. It's funny, now that I'm not at Beatport, I have learned that all companies, that distribute tend to have two formats of data. One they call DDEX, which is the common sort of major label format, and then everyone else calls the other format the Beatport format. And we've just been telling people, send us your Beatport formatted data, because that gets us the remixer information separated out, the label information separated out. And I think you bring up a really interesting point about being able to search by remixer or by label. And it's not that these companies are ignoring dance music. They're ignoring independent labels. And independent label brands are important not just in dance music. If you love death metal, there is a handful of labels that you love, that you follow. And in streaming now that it's 40 million tracks or 200 million tracks, I mean, first off, we all know all but 1 million of them are terrible. And so what you need is programming. You need playlists. You need ways to explore that. EDM District is a way of exploring that. Mr. Suicide Sheep is a way of exploring that. And if you're an independent label today and you want to get attention at Deezer, at Spotify, at Apple Music, you should be making and publishing weekly, if not daily, playlists that include not only your tracks, but tracks that are related to what you love and what your programming brand loves. You may not be able to search for Defected at Spotify as a label, but you could certainly search for a Defected branded playlist, and that would have a tremendous amount of value to users.
So coming back to you, Brian, do you think that, well, two questions. The first question is, do you think that downloads and streaming can coexist happily in the way the music industry is set up today?
Absolutely. But first I want to address one other thing, which was, is the download dead? I think that's a really important question, and I think you have to really think about that statement. I mean, in 1988, people told me vinyl was dead, and it's not dead, and predominantly was kept alive by house music and hip-hop and stuff. So, this music's going to be downloaded by DJs for a long time. And, granted, for sure, there's going to be a big, shift and another format or whatever, but just wanted to make that clear.
And I'll just add on to that, to you adding on to it, which is if you then fold in all of the downloads from the illegal but paid services, so not peer-to-peer, but the download stores where DJs pay $50 for 3 months, all you can eat, there's 100 sales on those sites for one sale on a legal site. So the death of the download is grossly exaggerated. In fact, it's 100 times bigger than people think it is.
Absolutely. I can't really speak for other download sites, but I can tell you that Traxsource has been growing steadily for 2 years now. We had multiple record quarters in a row. This first quarter, this year, we were 25% up from the year before, and that was up from the year before. So I can't believe that it's dying. And I would love to find out if Deezer is actually making money. You're going to have to put that, you have to fan it out so I could see it a little bit.
Well, let's be clear.
If I can just say, I didn't say that it's dead. I said dying, yes, but there's always a way of doing mouth to mouth. But yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify that I didn't say dead.
It's abundantly clear that the investors in Silicon Valley are all making a lot of money. So it is not fair to say that these companies make no money. They are not profitable, but they are making a lot of people very rich. And that is an interesting dichotomy, but that is how the American Silicon Valley tech industry works. That is something that is going to need to be rectified. I do want to say that there was a great study in the US recently that showed that half the people who bought a piece of vinyl last year never listened to it. And that reminds me of the old school music business, which was we were in the business of trying to trick someone into buying the entire Smash Mouth CD for $15, which of course they would never listen to and never fall in love with. And the beauty of the streaming market, the access market, is that now we're all back in the business of making music people love, which is a fundamentally different business than making music you can trick people into buying. And I believe that is the transition we're all going through that's difficult and interesting and exciting.
Just to address that one point, Silicon Valley, right now is going through a metamorphosis, really. You're seeing what used to be called a unicorn company, which was a company that had $1 billion valuation without having a dollar in revenue. They're now calling them cockroach companies. So I think that the climate is changing.
Oh, absolutely. And I wasn't suggesting that's a good thing.
Okay. No, I just wanted to clear that up because, every single streaming company, this is the great streaming debate, right? And I like streaming, and I wish someone would figure out how to do it right, so that it would be profitable and that artists would be compensated fairly. But right now there isn't one, and the stats show it. I could open up a list and show you every company that we all have our money invested into, or our hearts invested into, like Spotify, for example. They've done no better than lose $200 million in a year, and I think that that's a sad state at this point in the game. When Beatport started, when Traxsource started, we were profitable in the first year. So I find it hard to believe that this many years after the fact, these companies, Spotify, $2.2 billion of revenue, and they still lost money. How does that happen? I find it hard to believe. It seems like it's broken. That's all.
Maybe they got their price wrong. Maybe they got their price wrong. So they're not making money. The artists aren't making money. Maybe the price is wrong. Just saying. So in terms of Crowdmix, what's on offer for electronic music? How does electronic music embrace the platform? How does electronic music grow its revenue? How does it get fan base exposure?
Well, the secret is to have an active community that follows and that you can build within the Crowdmix framework. So you will have a shared interest. It could be from a nightclub, it could be from a DJ, it could be from a record label, it could be from a school or any community, a creative community that wants to contribute, and actually the posts that they put up on the platform generate a chart for that crowd. So their actions, their interactions, their engagement with the platform creates a chart. Each crowd has its own chart, which then drives people's interests to see what that niche, what that community is talking about. And like somebody mentioned earlier, you know, it opens it up to not just your music, but the music of the fans of your music and what else they're listening to and so on and so forth. So it helps expand and diversify and ripple out from a core proposition, which is you and your artistry, whether you be any kind of content creator whatsoever, and allows people to come to a place where they can see what else is resonating within that framework and within that community. So that's a big help to music discovery.
So I guess if we wrap up before moving to questions, I think we've identified that it's not download v streaming, it's download and streaming. You just have to play them in the right places and have, as a label or rights holder, making sure that your strategy for release is correct. If anything, download should drive streaming, correct? Because if you get it right, you window it correctly, then you create a streaming audience.
I mean, from our point of view, you know, it's great. I think it goes perfect. We encourage all of our labels to have their music on Spotify while they're doing Traxsource exclusives, because that's when you know, things have a short lifespan. So we're very hopeful that we can drive as much traffic and attention to all of them, or whatever streaming site there is. There's one thing that I wanted to just say about the streaming model. I think it's a fundamental flaw that could be fixed relatively easy. So maybe you could tell your people, and if Spotify's listening or whatever, why aren't we doing it like the movie business? Why don't we use windowing? It seems like so basic. If a new movie comes out, you know you can't get it on your Netflix subscription, right? You know you got to go to the theater, and then you might be able to buy it like a couple months later for $20 on iTunes. Then it goes to the highest bidder. Then it's on Netflix. Why does the music business always shoot itself in the foot? Like, why did we say, yes, sure, have our music? Why is everybody saying, yes, take it, give it away, please? We're like agreeing that it's worthless. I think we fundamentally have a bad position.
Pop will always eat itself.
Started with the cover mountain.
Exactly. And I think the other thing we've learned is that Deezer could become the darling of the dance community. If you can just go back and change the search function, that'd be like big press release. We'll support you. We'll do everything we can as an association to champion the cause. It feels like we're heading towards a bright future rather than a Wild West where data's right, matching is right, payments are made for mixes and DJ mixes online, which is, given the amount that's consumed, is amazing. And finally, that all sounds like wrapping up towards Anglo as a great result for you to be able to give good advice and good strategies for your artists, I hope. Please say yes.
Well, sorry, what was the question?
Just say yes, it's fine.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want our artists to be able to engage with their fans, and the music is the most important thing. So we know the world is changing so fast, and we're sure it will get there, and obviously we're here to feed back on how we can improve that. But I think, just going back to your last point, although the music is the central pillar of everything that we do, it has changed in that now if we release an album or release a single, we've been conditioned to know that it's not about making revenue from that. It's not about are we going to make revenue from that single. It's about the opportunities that having that content, I hate calling music content, but having that content out there and what we can build around it and the reach that we can get and the people that we can speak to and get involved with our artist or brand or whatever it is. That's what we're trying to do. So streaming is perfect for that.
I think the day we all started calling it content, it was the day the music died. So let's move to questions, please. Far away. Plenty of different and interesting people on stage to take any question you like.
Hi there, my name's Helen Matthews. I'm the COO of Minus Inc., which is Richie Houghton's parent company. So I'm kind of coming at this from more of a business model perspective than an artist or a fan. Stephen, I was wondering about how the mixes are monetized, how artists actually receive money back from the mixes that are going on to Spotify. And for example, I'm not super up to date with the culture, but I think it was Taylor Swift who said she didn't want her music on there. If you have some artists who are going to be on there and then you're saying that you're going to monetize it without artist permission, how does that actually work?
Sure. So the way our platform works, the content owner has total control over what content is distributed in mixes. So if we identify that a mix contains a Taylor Swift song and the label or the artist have said that they don't want that content to be distributed that way, then that mix will be blocked for distribution. So it's a 100% clearance model. Any of the underlying content that's contained in that mix has to be fully licensed and cleared for inclusion in mixes. So that's the first part of your question. The second part, how is it monetized? We're looking at a mix as a collection of songs. And so if you've got a mix it's 45 minutes long, the average mix is actually 60 minutes long, we're breaking that down into individual track equivalents and then distributing fractionally based on what is actually contained in that period of time. And then big proponents and big fans of an AFEM-backed initiative, Get Paid, Get Played, or Get Played, Get Paid, I always get that backwards. We only pay for the parts of the mix that are actually played. And so we only pay for the content that's actually consumed.
Just to reiterate quickly, if an artist, for example, Joseph Capriati was up here earlier, if he wanted to actually publish a mix, he would have to go out to all the musicians he used in that mix and then clear them first, or?
No, we do all of that for them. So all the DJ has to do is upload their mix. We process it through a platform called MixScan, where we break it down into very small segments and audio fingerprint it, identify who the underlying rights holders are, and then clear it. And so all the DJ has to do, and again, this back to Mark's earlier question, we want DJs to get back to thinking about making music and not have to worry about, is the content that they then created legally being distributed, or is it going to get taken down? Are they going to get strikes? Are their fan base going to be, hurt by not being able to get access to that content? We want to take away all that complexity for the DJ and make it very simple for them to upload a piece of content to our service, have it be cleared through that process I just walked you through, and then distribute it into the largest distribution channels in the world.
Hello, my name is Ralph. I'm German distributor on the digital side. Hey, how are you? I have a question. The Dubset system seems to me like really the perfect solution to all the answers, or it's the best question, the best answer to all the questions we have so far. But you're talking about clearing the mix, so I'm quite curious how this will work in the future. So, for example, I will deliver you tomorrow 25,000 tracks to clear. What's the percentage of the result to clear the stuff? A positive result.
Sure. So the clearance is dependent upon us having licenses in place with underlying rights holders. Today we've got over 25,000 labels that are participating in the platform. We'll be making more announcements over the next coming weeks of additional very large groups that are joining onto the platform. But it's a call to this community. I mean, it really is up to this community to support platforms like ours that are trying to solve these problems for you. So giving us the ability to work with your catalogs is hugely important. And what we give you back is we give you back full control and transparency.
Perfect, you get everything from me. But the thing is, in which territories will such a clearing system be available? I mean, if I think of Germany, I have a headache.
Sure, it's a global system, and so we do have deals in place with publishers and labels to enable global clearance and global distribution. Obviously, there are some territories that are more challenging than others. We do understand the complexities of your catalogs. We understand that in some territories you may have full control over your catalog. In some territories you may have sub-licensed out parts of your catalog. We handle all of that in the underlying platform. And so there's ways for you to manage pieces of your catalog. And by the way, if one territory works better for you than another, you can turn on a single territory at a time.
Can you hear me? Yeah. But how do you handle the German case if it's about a DJ mix and you know track A and track B in the middle, it's in the mix, or the German GEMA calls it dubbing. It's called a change of the copyright, which is illegal in Germany. How do you deal with something like this?
Sure. So in Germany, there are some challenges around that, but there's where the licenses with the regional PROs are very important that actually give us explicit rights around derivative content.
So that means you're talking with ICE, or?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. And they are open for something like this?
Yeah, I think everyone's open to it because they see the reality that's happening today.
Okay,
today,
great.
this content's being distributed in pirate sites and illegal distribution channels, and they want to get paid. They want their royalties as well. So, very important.
I wish you lots of luck, and for sure we will support the system. But you know, I live in Germany. That's because I have a past. And a last question is: you just announced the Spotify cooperation today. What's with Apple Music?
We announced Apple Music at South by Southwest. We've already begun to deliver single-track remixes into that platform. We are working with them to expand to long-form mixes as well. And so we'll support both platforms going forward and hopefully bring additional platforms on soon so that we can continue broadening out the distribution platform to all of the streaming services.
Okay, thank you.
We're here all week, too, if people want to talk more. We can talk after.
Hi, Quentin Chambers. I'm from Open Lab. Given this is a debate on streaming, I'm surprised, and I've heard people talking about download and streaming. I'm surprised I haven't heard anyone mention the model that combines the two. So cache streaming integrated with DJ software. And what are your thoughts on that being the future of DJing in the long term?
I believe that's coming. One of the things that gets lost in this conversation about streaming versus downloads is, and the business models surrounding them is we traditionally think of streaming these days as a subscription financial model with the consumer and download as a retail pay-as-you-go financial model with the consumer, when in fact 15 years ago when the internet 1.0 of music was happening, there were streaming services that charged you a penny every time you listened to a song. So there can be a retail model for streaming, and e-music used to be a subscription model for downloads. So the manner in which the consumer pays is separate from the format of how the music is delivered. DJs will prolong the life of the paid download business, especially DJs who want to alter a track before putting it in their set. I have a tendency to make my own edits, and that's easier to do with a download. But there's zero doubt in my mind that an access model with a subscription payment will happen in the DJ market in the coming years, and it will be the dominant form within 10 years.
It's here already. There's companies like Pulse Locker, for those of you that don't know them, has exactly this model. You pay a subscription and you can tether certain downloads for use for performance, knowing that DJs can't, you're not going to live stream in a club, in a live DJ environment. So there are services available today that support both subscription model with tethered downloads. And I think the other thing we haven't talked about at all, which is an important part of this conversation, at least for us, is stems and the real need for DJs to have access to stems. Today, stems are only being made available in a download model. There is not yet a streaming model around stem access, which is another interesting one for the DJ community to be thinking about.
If I could just add one thing to that. You can actually do it right now with Spotify. There's a product called DJ by Algorithm. It's software and there's also hardware. So if you wanted to do that today, you can do that, and there's plenty of kids doing that. Really, when it comes to being a professional DJ, the question I have to ask myself is, is it a problem that really wants to be solved? I don't know that it is. I think that company, Pulse Locker, they burned about $100 million trying to figure out how to break the technology barriers. So if their burn rate adds up to a launch, then they deserve to win. I think somebody will eventually figure it out, but I just don't, I think we can't even get DJs to give an honest playlist at a festival. So what makes you think they're going to want a DJ from the cloud? Everybody wants to own their content, have it in their pocket. Am I wrong, Mark? I'm just saying, I don't think it's a really problem that people want to be solved. If I'm wrong, if you want a product like that, raise your hand.
Yeah. Caching, it's just like a download. Time for a couple more questions. Or we've satisfied the audience, I think. Stunning. Well, listen, thank you everyone for your listening, and thank you everyone on the panel for talking and contributing today. And let the great streaming debate continue.